Lucy Martinez sat in the corner of the energy cage, her knees pulled up to her chest. The blue light from the force field made her skin look pale and sickly. She tried not to look at the creatures standing outside her prison. They were tall, much taller than any human she had ever seen. Their bodies were covered in dark scales that seemed to move and shift in the dim light of the alien ship. The biggest one had bright yellow eyes that never seemed to blink. His name was Vexstar, and he was their leader. Lucy had heard him talking to the others in their strange, clicking language. Sometimes they would switch to broken human speech, probably to scare her. It was working. "Look at the little human," said Keshrak, the second in command. His voice sounded like rocks grinding together. "She thinks she is so smart, sitting there quietly. Does she think we will forget about her?" The other aliens made sounds that Lucy thought might be laughter. It was not a pleasant sound. It reminded her of the sound metal made when it was being torn apart. Vexstar moved closer to the cage. Each step he took made a heavy thud on the metal floor. "Tell us, little human," he said, his words slow and careful. "Where are the others? From your ship? We know there were more of you on the Meridian." Lucy did not answer. She had been taught never to give information to enemies. Her father had trained her well, even though she was only 17 years old. Admiral Jake Martinez always said that information was more valuable than gold in space. She would not betray the people who had escaped during the attack. "She does." "Not want to talk," laughed another alien. This one was smaller than the others, but his teeth were longer and sharper. "Maybe she is too scared to speak." "Humans are always scared," said Keshrak. "They are weak creatures. They have no claws, no sharp teeth, no thick skin to protect them. How did they ever leave their home planet?" Vexstar walked around the cage slowly, studying Lucy like she was some kind of strange animal in a zoo. "They use tools," he said. "Like insects building nests. They make machines to do what their bodies cannot do, but without their machines, they are nothing." Lucy felt anger rising in her chest, but she kept her face calm. She had learned to hide her feelings from her father's military friends. They always said that showing emotion was showing weakness. She would not give these monsters the satisfaction of seeing her fear or anger. The ship shook slightly, and Lucy heard the sound of engines changing. They were probably leaving human space now, heading toward whatever dark corner of the galaxy these creatures called home. She wondered if anyone had noticed that the Meridian was missing yet. The colony ship had been traveling to a new world, on the edge of known space. It might be days before anyone realized they were in trouble. "Commander?" said a new voice from somewhere behind the aliens. Lucy could not see who was speaking, but the voice sounded different from the others. "We have received a message from the homeworld. The council wants to know about our hunt." Vexstar turned away from Lucy's cage. "Tell them we have captured something interesting. A young human female. She might be worth keeping alive." "The markets on Korak Station pay well for rare specimens," said Keshrak. "Humans are still new to this part of space. The wealthy will pay much to own one." Lucy felt sick to her stomach. They were talking about selling her like she was some kind of pet. She thought about her father, probably sitting in his office on Earth, not knowing that his daughter was trapped millions of miles away. "Or we could use her for the hunt," suggested the smaller alien with the long teeth. "It has been too long since we had proper prey in the biodome. The last creatures we caught were too slow. They provided no challenge at all." The others made that grinding sound again. Lucy realized they were excited by the idea of hunting her. These creatures were not just dangerous because they were strong and had sharp claws. They were dangerous because they enjoyed causing pain and fear. "The hunt could be amusing," agreed Vexstar. "Humans think they are clever. It would be interesting to see how clever this one really is when she is running for her life." Lucy closed her eyes and tried to calm her breathing. Hidden beneath her shirt, pressed against her skin, was a small device that looked like a simple medical patch. Her father had insisted she wear it before joining the colony mission. At the time, she had thought it was just another one of his paranoid precautions. Now she was grateful for his paranoia. The device was sending out a signal so weak that it would not show up on most scanners. But her father's people would be looking for exactly that kind of signal. They would know the special code that meant she was in danger. The question was whether they would find her in time. "How long until we reach Korak Station?" asked Vextar. 5 days, Commander," came the reply from the unseen crew member. "Good. That gives us time to decide what to do with our prize." Vextar looked back at Lucy with those terrible yellow eyes. "Tell me, little human, do you have a name?" Lucy stared back at him without speaking. "She would not make this easy for them, silent as well as stupid," said Keshrak. "Typical human behavior. They think if they ignore danger, it will go away." "We are not danger," said Vextar softly. "We are death. We are the shadows that hunt in the dark spaces between stars. For 10,000 years, the Koraxian people have been the greatest predators in the galaxy. We have hunted on 100 different worlds. We have brought down creatures that could crush mountains." He pressed his face close to the energy barrier. Lucy could see her reflection in his black pupils. "And you, little human, are just another animal for us to catch." Lucy finally spoke, her voice steady and clear. "My name is Lucy Martinez." The alien seemed surprised that she had answered. Vextar stepped back from the cage. "Martinez," he repeated slowly. "That name sounds familiar. Where have I heard it before?" Lucy smiled for the first time since being captured. "Maybe you should. Be more careful about which humans you decide to hunt." Keshrak laughed loudly. "Listen to her. She thinks her name means something to us. Humans are all the same. They believe they are important," but Vextar was not laughing. He was thinking, and Lucy could see that something was bothering him. Good, let him worry. Let him wonder why a 17-year-old girl was not as frightened as she should be. "Take her to holding cell 7, Vextar ordered suddenly, "and double the guards. I want to know everything about this human. Search the databases. Find out who she is and why she was on that colony ship." As the aliens moved to transfer her to a different prison, Lucy allowed herself a small smile. The signal device was still working, still sending its quiet call for help into the darkness of space. Somewhere out there, people were looking for her. People who would not give up until they found her. These creatures thought they were the ultimate predators, but they had made one serious mistake. They had captured the daughter of Jake Martinez, and that meant they had just declared war on the most dangerous military commander in human space. The hunt was about to begin. But Lucy was beginning to think that these aliens might not be the hunters they believed themselves to be. 3 days had passed since Lucy was moved to the new holding cell. The cell was bigger than the energy cage, but it was still a prison. The walls were made of some kind of dark metal that felt cold to the touch. There was a small bed, a water dispenser, and a waste unit. Nothing else. During those 3 days, Lucy had been thinking. She had been planning. Most importantly, she had been listening. The aliens did not know that humans could hear sounds at different levels than they expected. Lucy had learned to pick up conversations happening in the corridors outside her cell. Knew they were still trying to figure out who she was. She knew they had found some information about her father, but not everything. Most importantly, she knew they were getting bored with keeping her alive. On the morning of the 4th day, Vextar came to her cell with 2 other aliens. One of them was carrying what looked like a weapon, but it was set to stun rather than kill. Lucy could tell by the blue light on its side. "Good morning, little human," said Vextar. His voice sounded cheerful, which made Lucy more nervous than when he was angry. "I have wonderful news for you. You are going to help us with some entertainment." Lucy stood up from her bed but did not move closer to the door. "What kind of entertainment?" "The kind that has been enjoyed by Koraxian warriors for thousands of years," said Keshrak, who was standing behind Vextar. "Of the hunt. You are going to run," explained Vextar. "We are going to chase you. If you survive for 1 full day, we will let you live. If you do not survive, well, that is the nature of the hunt." "Where am I supposed to run?" asked Lucy. "We are on a spaceship." Vextar smiled, showing all of his sharp teeth. "Come with us, we will show you." The two guards moved forward and grabbed Lucy by the arms. She did not resist. There was no point in fighting now. She needed to see where they were taking her and learn as much as possible about this hunt they were planning. They walked through several corridors that Lucy had never seen before. The ship was much larger than she had thought. Some areas looked like living quarters, others looked like workspaces, and some looked like they were designed for purposes she could not guess. Finally, they stopped in front of a large door that was at least 3 times taller than Lucy. Vexstar pressed his hand against the panel, and the door opened with a soft hissing sound. Lucy gasped. Beyond the door was what looked like a forest. There were trees, plants, rocks, and even a small stream running through the middle. The ceiling was so high that she could not see it in the dim light that filtered down from above. "Welcome to our biodome," said Vexstar proudly. "This is where we practice our hunting skills during long space voyages. It contains plants and animals from 12 different worlds. Some of them are quite dangerous." Lucy walked into the biodome, looking around in amazement. It was like stepping into a different world. The air smelled of earth and growing things. She could hear the sound of water moving and what might have been animal calls in the distance. "The dome is 5 kilometers across and 2 kilometers high," explained Keshrak. "There are caves, cliffs, swamps, and thick forests. Many places to hide, but also many places to be trapped. You will have a 10-minute head start," said Vexstar. "Use that time wisely. After 10 minutes, we will enter the dome and begin hunting. We will not use our weapons. This is a traditional hunt, using only our natural abilities." Lucy nodded, but she was not really listening to him anymore. She was studying the environment, looking for advantages, thinking about what her father had taught her about survival in hostile territory. "One more thing," added Vexstar. "There are other creatures in this dome. Some of them hunt at night. Some of them are poisonous. Some of them are simply hungry. Try not to become their dinner before we have a chance to catch you ourselves." The aliens laughed at this, but Lucy was not frightened. She had been trained to survive in wilderness environments since she was 10 years old. Her father had made sure she knew how to find food, water, and shelter in almost any situation. "Your 10 minutes start now," announced Vexstar, and he pressed a button on a device attached to his belt. Lucy did not waste time talking. She turned and ran into the forest as fast as she could. Behind her, she heard the aliens making their grinding laughter sounds, probably discussing how they would divide up the hunt. As soon as she was out of sight, Lucy slowed down and began moving more carefully. Running fast would only tire her out and make noise that would help the aliens track her. Instead, she needed to think like a soldier, not like frightened prey. She found the stream and followed it upstream. Water would mask her scent and make it harder for the aliens to follow her trail. As she walked, she looked for useful things. A sharp stone that could be used as a knife. A sturdy branch that could become a spear. Vines that could be woven into rope. Her father had always said that the most important weapon was the human brain. Humans were not stronger or faster than many other creatures, but they were better at solving problems and using tools. After 5 minutes of walking, Lucy found what she was looking for. There was a place where the stream ran close to a rocky cliff. The cliff had several small caves, and there were thick bush growing around the base. Perfect for what she had in mind, Lucy quickly gathered materials and began setting up her first trap. She used the vines to create a snare that would catch anyone who tried to follow her path along the stream. She covered the trap with leaves and small branches so it would be invisible. Then she climbed up the cliff to one of the caves. It was not very deep, but it would give her a good view of the area below. She could see the stream, the forest, and the path the aliens would probably take when they entered the dome. In the cave, she found something interesting. There were old bones scattered on the floor, and some of them were from creatures she did not recognize. But there were also some human bones. Lucy realized that she was not the first person to be hunted in this dome. That made her angry, but it also made her more determined. She would not end up like the others who had been brought here. She would survive, and she would make these creatures pay for what they had done. Lucy heard a sound in the distance. a loud roar that echoed through the dome. The hunt had begun. She moved to the front of the cave and looked down. She could see 3 dark shapes moving through the forest below. They were spreading out, trying to pick up her trail. But they were moving too fast, too confidently. They expected her to be running in panic. Leaving an easy trail to follow, one of the aliens found her path along the stream and began following it. Lucy smiled as she watched him approach her first trap. The alien was so focused on tracking her scent that he did not see the hidden snare. There was a sharp crack as the trap activated. The alien let out a roar of surprise and anger as the vine snare caught his leg and pulled him off balance. He fell into the stream with a loud splash. The other 2 aliens heard the noise and came running. Lucy could hear them talking in their clicking language, probably asking what had happened. They sounded confused and worried. Good, let them worry. The hunt had begun, but Lucy was beginning to think that she might not be the one being hunted after all. From her hiding place in the cave, Lucy began planning her next move. She had many more surprises waiting for her alien captors. Lucy watched from her cave as the alien who had fallen into her trap struggled to get back on his feet. His leg was twisted at a strange angle, and he was making angry hissing sounds. The other 2 aliens were trying to help him, but they kept looking around nervously as if they expected more traps. They were right to be nervous. While they were distracted, Lucy quietly moved to the back of the cave. She had noticed something earlier that might be useful. There was a crack in the wall that seemed to go deeper into the cliff. When she put her ear to it, she could hear air moving through it. Lucy squeezed through the crack and found herself in a narrow tunnel. The tunnel was dark, but she could feel air flowing through it. That meant it led somewhere else. She followed the tunnel carefully, using her hands to feel the walls and make sure she did not fall into any holes. After crawling for what felt like a long time, Lucy saw light ahead. The tunnel opened into another part of the biodome, far from where she had started. She was now behind the aliens, and they had no idea where she was. Lucy emerged from the tunnel and looked around. She was in a swampy area with thick mud and tall grass, the perfect place for her next trap. But first, she needed to find some supplies. She remembered seeing maintenance panels in the corridors of the ship. If this biodome was part of the ship, there might be similar panels here. Lucy searched through the tall grass until she found what she was looking for. A small metal panel was hidden behind some rocks. Lucy used a sharp stone to pry open the panel. Inside, she found exactly what she had hoped for. There were wires, small tools, and even a tiny emergency light. She quickly gathered everything she could. Lucy had learned about electronics from her father's engineering friends. They had taught her how to take apart machines and put them back together. More importantly, they had taught her how to make machines do things they were not supposed to do. She found a place where several large pipes ran through the swamp. The pipes were warm, which meant they probably carried heated air or water to keep the biodome at the right temperature. Lucy used the tools to carefully open one of the pipes. Hot steam began pouring out of the pipe. Lucy quickly closed it again, but not before she had learned something important. The pipes were connected to the main environmental systems of the ship. If she could damage enough of them, she might be able to cause problems for the aliens. Lucy spent the next hour moving through the swamp, finding more pipes and making small cuts in them. She was careful to make the damage look like it was caused by the swamp environment, not by a person. She wanted the aliens to think their biodome was having mechanical problems. While she worked, she could hear the aliens calling to each other in the distance. They sounded frustrated. They had probably realized that tracking her was going to be much harder than they had expected. Lucy finished her work on the pipes and moved to a new location. She found an area with several large trees and thick bush. This would be perfect for her next plan. She climbed one of the trees and used the vines to create a series of connected ropes between the branches. Then she gathered sharp rocks and placed them in strategic locations. If someone tried to follow her path through the trees, they would trigger her trap and get hit by falling rocks, but Lucy was not finished yet. She had noticed that the biodome had artificial lighting that changed to simulate day and night. Right now, it was getting darker, which meant the aliens would have trouble seeing her. But she had an advantage they did not know about. During her 3 days in the holding cell, Lucy had been working on something. She had pulled threads from her clothing and woven them into a small sling. It was not much, but combined with the right stones, it could be an effective weapon. Lucy had practiced with slings since she was 12 years old. Her father had said that humans had been using slings for thousands of years, and they were still one of the most accurate weapons ever invented. A skilled person with a sling could hit targets that were much farther away than most people could throw a rock dot. As the biodome grew darker, Lucy heard new sounds. The aliens were splitting up, trying to cover more ground. One of them was getting closer to her location. Lucy could hear him crashing through the bush, making no effort to move quietly. These creatures might be good hunters on their own world, but they did not understand this environment. They were treating it like an open battlefield instead of a place where stealth and patience were more important than strength. Lucy waited in her tree until the alien was directly below her. She could see his dark shape moving through the shadows. She loaded her sling with a sharp stone and took careful aim. The stone hit the alien in the head with a loud crack. He roared, in pain and surprise, spinning around to look for his attacker. But Lucy was already moving, swinging from vine to vine like her father had taught her during their training sessions in the forests of Earth. The alien tried to follow her, but he triggered one of her rope traps. Rocks began falling from the trees, hitting him on the head and shoulders. He covered his head with his arms and stumbled backwards right into a mud pit that Lucy had prepared earlier. Lucy dropped to the ground and ran toward the center of the biodome. She could hear the alien behind her calling for help from his companions. But she was not worried about him anymore. He was stuck in the mud and probably injured from the falling rocks dot as she ran. Lucy began to notice that her sabotage of the pipes was working. The air in the biodome was getting hotter and more humid. Some areas were filled with steam, making it hard to see. Other areas were getting cold as the heating system struggled to work properly. The environmental problems were affecting the aliens more than they were affecting Lucy. She could hear them coughing and complaining about the air quality. They were used to the controlled environment of their spaceship, not the changing conditions that Lucy was creating. Lucy found another maintenance panel and opened it. This one was bigger than the first, and it had more interesting contents. There were spare parts, tools, and even a small communications device. Lucy quickly figured out how to use the device to access the ship's internal systems. She could not understand the alien language on the control screens, but she could recognize symbols and patterns. She found what looked like the environmental controls for the biodome and began making changes. Lucy turned off the lights in some areas and made them brighter in others. She changed the temperature settings randomly. She even found a way to activate the sprinkler systems that were designed to water the plants. Soon the biodome was in chaos. Water was spraying everywhere, lights were flashing on and off, and the temperature was changing every few minutes. Lucy could hear the aliens shouting at each other, probably trying to figure out what was happening. But Lucy was not finished yet. She had found something else in the maintenance panel that gave her an idea. There was a map of the ship's layout, showing all the different sections and how they were connected. Lucy studied the map carefully. The biodome was connected to the main ship by several corridors and maintenance tunnels. If she could find a way to access those tunnels, she might be able to escape from the biodome entirely. More importantly, she might be able to cause problems for the aliens and other parts of the ship. Lucy smiled as she looked at the map. These creatures thought they were hunting her, but she was about to show them what it really meant to be hunted. Lucy gathered her supplies and headed toward the maintenance tunnel that would take her deeper into the alien ship. The real hunt was just beginning. Lucy crawled through the maintenance tunnel with the ship's map clutched in her hand. The tunnel was narrow and dark, but she could feel the vibrations of the ship's engines through the metal walls. She was getting closer to the main sections of the vessel. Behind her, she could still hear the chaos in the biodome. Alarms were going off, and she could hear angry alien voices shouting over the noise. Her sabotage was working better than she had hoped. The environmental systems were failing throughout that section of the ship. Lucy reached a junction where several tunnels met. According to the map, one tunnel led to the engine room, another to the command center, and a third to what looked like crew quarters. She chose the tunnel that led toward the command center. If she was going to cause real problems for these aliens, that was the best place to start. God, as she crawled forward, Lucy heard something that made her heart jump with hope. It was a sound she recognized, even though it was very faint. Somewhere in the distance, she could hear the hum of human technology. Lucy moved faster through the tunnel, following the sound. She reached another maintenance panel and carefully opened it. Through the gap, she could see into a corridor of the alien ship. The corridor was empty, but the human technology sound was definitely coming from this direction. Lucy squeezed out of the tunnel and landed quietly on the corridor floor. She listened carefully for any signs of aliens nearby, but heard nothing except the mechanical sounds of the ship and the distant alarms from the bio-dome. She followed the corridor toward the source of the human technology sound. As she got closer, she began to hear other sounds too. Quiet voices speaking in English and the soft beeping of human equipment. Lucy turned a corner and almost cried with relief. At the end of the corridor, she could see human soldiers moving carefully through the ship. They were wearing dark combat suits and carrying weapons she recognized from her father's military base. One of the soldiers looked up and saw her. He raised his weapon for a moment, then lowered it when he realized she was human. He made a hand signal to the others, and they quickly surrounded Lucy. "Are you Lucy Martinez?" whispered one of the soldiers. He was tall and had kind eyes, even though his face was painted with combat colors. "Yes," Lucy whispered back. "How did you find me?" "Your distress signal," said the soldier. "I'm Captain Ryan Blake. Your father sent us to get you out of here." Lucy felt tears of relief running down her face, but she quickly wiped them away. There are at least 6 aliens on this ship. 3 of them are in the biodome, but they might have given up the hunt by now because of the problems I caused. Captain Blake smiled. "What kind of problems?" "I sabotaged their environmental systems and set traps. The biodome is a mess right now." The captain's smile got bigger. "Outstanding work. That explains why their ship's systems have been acting strange for the past hour." Another soldier, a woman with sergeant stripes on her sleeve, moved closer. "Sir, we need to move. Our scans show alien life signs converging on this section." Captain Blake nodded. "Lucy, stay close to us. We're going to fight our way to the escape pods and get you off this ship." But before they could start moving, the lights in the corridor suddenly became very bright. An alien voice began speaking over the ship's communication system. Lucy recognized Vextar's grinding voice. "Attention, human invaders," the voice said in broken English. "You have made a serious mistake coming aboard our vessel. Surrender now, and we will kill you quickly. Continue to resist, and we will make your deaths very slow and painful." Captain Blake spoke into his radio. "All teams, this is Blake. They know we're here. Move to combat positions and prepare for contact." Lucy could hear responses from other human soldiers throughout the ship. There were at least 12 humans aboard, maybe more. They had come in quietly, but now they were ready to fight. "Captain," said Lucy, "I know the layout of this ship. I found a map in one of the maintenance panels. I can help you navigate." "Good," said Blake. "Lead the way to the command center. If we can take control of their bridge, we can end this quickly." Lucy led the group through corridors she had memorized from the map. As they moved, she could hear the sound of fighting starting in other parts of the ship. Human weapons made different sounds than alien weapons, and Lucy could tell that her people were winning most of the battles. They reached the command center without meeting any resistance. The heavy door was sealed, but one of the soldiers had brought special equipment for breaking through alien security systems. "Stand back," said the soldier. He attached a small device to the door and pressed a button. There was a bright flash and a loud crack, and the door slid open. The command center was larger than Lucy had expected. There were control stations everywhere and large screens showing different parts of the ship. But what caught Lucy's attention immediately was the figure standing in the center of the room. Vextar was waiting for them. He was not alone, Keshrak. And 2 other aliens were with him, and they all had weapons pointed at the entrance. "Welcome, humans," said Vexstar. His yellow eyes were glowing with anger. "You have come a very long way to die." Captain Blake and his soldiers raised their weapons, but they did not fire. They were outnumbered, and the aliens had better positions. "Let the girl go," said Blake. "This is between us now." Vexstar laughed, showing all of his sharp teeth. "The girl belongs to us. We caught her fairly. She is our prey." "Your prey just destroyed half of your biodome and caused system failures throughout your ship," said Blake. "Maybe you should reconsider who the real predator is here." "Impossible," snarled Keshrak. "Humans are weak creatures. They have no claws, no fangs, no natural weapons. They are prey animals." Lucy stepped forward, even though Captain Blake tried to hold her back. "You're wrong," she said to Vexstar. "You think being a predator means having sharp teeth and claws. But that's not what makes something dangerous." Vexstar stared at her with his cold yellow eyes. "Then tell me, little human, what does make something dangerous?" Lucy looked around the room at all the aliens pointing weapons at her and her rescuers. She was not afraid anymore. She was angry. "Intelligence," she said. "Planning. The ability to adapt and use tools. The willingness to protect the people you care about, no matter what the cost." "Pretty words," said Vexstar. "But words will not save you now." Captain Blake spoke up, his voice calm and steady. "You are predators, but we are ultimate predators." Vexstar turned his attention to Blake. "What does that mean, human?" "It means," said Blake, "that you hunt for food and for sport. You hunt because it's your nature. But we hunt for something much more dangerous." "Which is?" "Justice, love, revenge, the protection of our families and our people." Blake's voice became harder. "You made the mistake of taking someone we care about. That makes you our prey." Vexstar snarled. "Big words from someone who is about to die." "Actually," said Blake, checking a device on his wrist, "I think you're the one who's about to die." Before Vexstar could ask what he meant, explosions began going off throughout the ship. The lights flickered and the floor shook under their feet. Blake smiled. "Did you really think we came here with just 12 soldiers? We've been tracking your ship for 3 days. We know everything about your weapons, your defenses, and your crew. Right now, human battle cruisers are surrounding your vessel, and our boarding teams have taken control of your engine room." Vexstar's eyes went wide with shock and fear. "Impossible. Our sensors would have detected your ships." "Not if we didn't want them to," said Blake. "That's the difference between us, alien. You see the obvious threat and think you're safe. We see 20 steps ahead and plan for every possibility." The explosions were getting closer now, and alien voices could be heard screaming over the communication system. "This is what ultimate predators do," Blake continued. "We don't just react to threats, we eliminate them completely." The explosions stopped and an eerie silence filled the command center. Vexstar and his aliens were looking around nervously, their weapons still pointed at the humans, but their confidence clearly shaken. Captain Blake touched a device on his collar. "Blake to Fleet Command. Package is secure." "Repeat, package is secure." A voice crackled back through his communicator. "Understood, Captain. Admiral Martinez is requesting immediate contact with his daughter." Blake held out a small communication. "Device to Lucy? Your father wants to talk to you." Lucy took the device with shaking hands. "Dad? Lucy, sweetheart, are you okay?" Her father's voice sounded tired and worried, but also relieved. "I'm fine, Dad. Captain Blake and his team found me." Lucy looked at the aliens who were still pointing weapons at them. "But we're not out of danger yet." "You will be soon," said Admiral Martinez. "Blake, are you listening?" "Yes, sir," replied Captain Blake. "Execute final phase." Blake nodded, even though the Admiral could not see him. He turned to Vexstar. "Commander, I suggest you order your crew to surrender. In 30 seconds, this entire section of your ship is going to be filled with sleeping gas." "You're bluffing," snarled Vexstar. "Am I?" Blake looked at his watch. 25 seconds. Vexstar raised his weapon higher. "We will kill all of you before your gas reaches us." 20 seconds, said Blake calmly. Keshrak was looking around the room frantically. Commander, maybe we should consider their offer? Never, roared Vextar. Coraxians do not surrender to prey animals. 15 seconds, said Blake. Lucy could see that some of the aliens were starting to panic. They had probably never been in a situation where they were not in complete control. 10 seconds, said Blake. Vextar's finger tightened on his weapon trigger. If we die, you die with us. 5 seconds, said Blake. Suddenly, white smoke began pouring into the command center. Through the air vents, the aliens started coughing and stumbling. Blake and his soldiers quickly put on breathing masks that they had been carrying in their equipment packs. Sleep gas, explained Blake to Lucy as he handed her a mask. Harmless to most species, but very effective. Within minutes, all the aliens had collapsed to the floor. They were still breathing, but they were unconscious. Blake spoke into his communicator again. Command center secured. All alien crew members are unconscious. Beginning prisoner transfer procedures. Over the next hour, Lucy watched as human soldiers moved through the ship, collecting the unconscious aliens and preparing them for transport. She learned that there had been 23 aliens on the ship, and all of them had been captured alive. Why didn't you just destroy their ship? Lucy asked Captain Blake. Because, said Blake, your father wanted to send a message to the galaxy. Dead aliens can't tell stories about what happened to them. These aliens will go back to their people and tell them exactly what they experienced. Lucy was brought to the human command ship, where she was finally reunited with her father. Admiral Jake Martinez was a tall man with gray hair and kind eyes that looked just like Lucy's. When he saw his daughter, he pulled her into a tight hug. I'm so sorry, Lucy, he said. I should have insisted on a larger escort for the Meridian. It's not your fault, Dad, said Lucy. Besides, I learned a lot about myself during those 4 days. Admiral Martinez smiled. Captain Blake told me about your performance in the biodome. I'm proud of you, but I'm also not surprised. You're a Martinez, after all. Over the next few days, Lucy learned about the larger operation that had been launched to rescue her. Her father had mobilized 3 battle cruisers, 2 stealth destroyers, and over 200 soldiers. The rescue mission had been planned and executed with military precision, but more importantly, the capture of the Coraxian raider ship had sent shockwaves through the galactic community. The Coraxians were known throughout the galaxy as unstoppable predators. The fact that humans had not only defeated them but had done so without losing a single person was causing other alien species to take notice. Ambassador Helen Wright is calling for a special session of the Galactic Council, Admiral Martinez told Lucy. She wants to address the recent attacks on human ships and colonies. Lucy watched the council session on the ship's communication system. The Galactic Council was made up of representatives from dozens of different alien species. Most of them had never paid much attention to humans before. Considering them a young and relatively weak species, Ambassador Wright was a small woman with silver hair, but when she spoke, her voice carried the authority of someone who had spent decades in diplomatic service. Esteemed members of the Council, she began, we are here today to discuss the recent attacks on human vessels by Coraxian raiders. These attacks have resulted in the deaths of over 300 human civilians and the capture of several others. FOR used as hunting prey. There was murmuring among the alien representatives. Lucy could see that some of them looked uncomfortable with the ambassador's words. For too long, continued Ambassador Wright, some species in this galaxy have viewed humans as weak newcomers who could be ignored or exploited. The recent rescue of Lucy Martinez and the capture of a Coraxian raider vessel should serve as a reminder that this view is dangerously incorrect. The Coraxian representative, a creature that looked similar to Vextar but was even larger, stood up. The humans used trickery and superior numbers, he said. This proves nothing about their strength. Ambassador Wright smiled. Actually, it proves everything about our strength. You see, the rescue operation was not just about saving one human girl. It was about demonstrating that humans will go to any length to protect their own. She activated a holographic display that showed the details of the rescue mission. The human military tracked the Coraxian ship across 3 star systems. They analyzed its technology, studied its crew patterns, and planned a mission that would result in the capture of all raiders without any human casualties. The hologram showed images of the Coraxian ship surrounded by human vessels. This level of coordination and planning is typical of human military operations. We do not fight for conquest or sport. We fight to protect our people and to ensure that justice is served, the Coraxian representative snarled. Humans are still weak prey animals. One victory does not change that. Ambassador Wright looked directly at the Coraxian. That one victory, as you call it, involved the capture of your most successful raider ship and its entire crew. Your people thought they were hunting a helpless human girl. Instead, they discovered that they had declared war on a species that treats the protection of its young as the highest priority. She turned to address the entire council. Let me be clear about something. Humans are not looking for conflict with other species. We prefer diplomacy and cooperation. But when our people are threatened, when our children are taken, when our families are attacked, we become something very different. The ambassador paused, letting her words sink in. We become the most dangerous predators this galaxy has ever seen. Lucy felt a chill run down her spine. Her father had said similar words to her when she was younger, but hearing them spoken to representatives of the galaxy's most powerful species was different. The girl who was captured, continued Ambassador Wright, was not just a victim. She was a symbol of what happens when you underestimate human determination and ingenuity. While the Coraxians thought they were hunting her, she was actually hunting them. The session continued for several hours, but Lucy could see that the ambassador's message had been received. The alien representatives were looking at the human delegation with new respect and, in some cases, new fear. When the session ended, Lucy asked her father what would happen next. Change, he said simply. The galaxy is going to have to learn to deal with humans as equals, not as prey animals or naive newcomers, Lucy nodded. She thought about her time on the Coraxian ship, about the traps she had set and the systems she had sabotaged. She thought about Captain Blake and his soldiers, who had risked their lives to save her. Dad, she said, I want to join the military when I turn 18. Admiral Martinez looked at his daughter with pride. I think that's an excellent idea. The galaxy is going to need more humans like you, Lucy smiled. The aliens had made a mistake when they decided to hunt her. They had thought they were capturing a helpless human girl, but they had actually awakened something much more dangerous. They had awakened the ultimate predators.